Well, you asked and we listened, because we're back with another round of politicians managing to torpedo their own careers with just a few poorly chosen words. And today's lineup, it's nothing short of legendary. From President George H.W. Bush's infamous tax promise that came back to haunt him, to Gerald Ford bizarrely denying the existence of Soviet domination in Eastern Europe, we've got a highlight reel of political self-destruction that you don't want to miss. So buckle up, because you're in for a treat. As always, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more videos just like this.
And I'm the one who will not raise taxes. My opponent now says he'll raise them as a last resort or a third resort. But when a politician talks like that, you know that's one resort he'll be checking into. And my opponent won't rule out raising taxes, but I will, and the Congress will push me to raise taxes, and I'll say no, and they'll push and I'll say no, and they'll push again and I'll say to them, read my lips, no new taxes.
And we're going to kick things off with a major throwback to the 1988 presidential elections. Bush Sr. really did commit to no new taxes, which was bold, clear, and definitely got people's attention. There was a major problem, though. He didn't actually stick to it. Technically, Bush didn't introduce brand new taxes. He raised existing ones. Quote, most notably an increase in the top personal tax rate to 31% from Reagan's 28%, end quote. But that technicality didn't matter to voters. The quote haunted him throughout his presidency and became a major factor in his failed re-election bid in 1992. Bill Clinton and his campaign team used it as ammunition, painting Bush as someone who could not be trusted to keep his word. Obviously, we can't talk about the 88 election cycle without including the failed photo op that led to one of the greatest political downfalls in modern history, so here we go.
Michael Dukakis has opposed virtually every defense system we developed. He opposed new aircraft carriers. He opposed anti-satellite weapons. He opposed 4 missile systems, including the Pershing II missile deployment. Dukakis opposed the stealth bomber and a ground emergency warning system against nuclear attack. He even criticized our rescue mission to Grenada and our strike on Libya. And now he wants to be our commander-in-chief. America can't afford that risk.
To be fair, it wasn't just this ad that cost Dukakis the elections. His overall performance on the campaign trail did not help either. While the ad painted him as soft on crime, his debate showing only added fuel to the fire. One of the most damaging moments came when he was asked whether he'd support the death penalty in a deeply personal tragedy involving his wife. His cold, cynical response made him seem robotic and really just disconnected from real emotion and just didn't sit well with voters. Combined with his lackluster charisma and an overly academic tone, Dukakis struggled to connect with the regular person. When all was said and done, Bush carried 40 states and 426 electoral votes, which no Republican nominee has managed to replicate ever since. Next, we have Joe Biden proving that sometimes your biggest opponent, well, it's yourself.
Making sure that we continue to strengthen our healthcare system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare.
I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. It's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. I've never seen anybody lie like this guy. He lies. I've never seen it. He could look you in the face about so many other things, too. And we mentioned the laptop. We mentioned Russia, Ukraine. Everything he does is a lie. It's misinformation and disinformation.
This debate performance from Biden was the moment that everything finally cracked wide open. It wasn't just bad, it was a full-blown collapse on live television. It confirmed what many had already suspected. Biden just no longer had the stamina or clarity to lead the country for another 4 years. The reaction wasn't just from the right, his own party was in shock. By the way, I've noticed you haven't liked the video or subscribed to the channel yet, so what are you waiting for? Now, within a few days, some Democrats were publicly calling for Biden to step aside. The pressure, it became impossible to ignore, and eventually he was forced to drop out of the race, and Kamala was installed as the undemocratically elected candidate. Next, we have Gerald Ford struggling to turn his thoughts into words during the 1976 presidential debate, and it was so awkward that even the moderator had to do a double take.
There is no Soviet domination of Eastern Europe, and there never will be under a Ford administration.
I'm sorry, could I just follow? Did I understand you to say, sir, that the Russians are not using Eastern Europe as their own sphere of influence and occupying most of the countries there and making sure with their troops that it's a communist zone, whereas on our side of the line, the Italians and the French are still flirting with possibility?
I don't believe, Mr. Frankel, that the Yugoslavians consider themselves dominated by the Soviet Union. I don't believe that the Romanians consider themselves dominated by the Soviet Union. I don't believe that the Poles consider themselves dominated by the Soviet Union.
Some people argue that he meant he'd work against Soviet influence in Eastern Europe, but the way he doubled down and insisted these countries weren't under the USSR's control was a disaster. Keep in mind, this was in the middle of the Cold War. His statement wasn't just a factual error, it was a foreign policy disaster. But that wasn't his only misstep. Ford's decision to pardon Richard Nixon just a month after taking office also came back to bite him in the butt. The country was still reeling from Watergate, and many saw the pardon as a political favor that let Nixon off the hook, damaging Ford's credibility and making it harder for Americans to trust him. And to wrap things up, we have Liz Truss making a promise that she could not keep for 24 hours.
The only mandate she's ever had is from members opposite. It was a mandate built on fantasy economics, and it ended in disaster. The country's got nothing to show for it except the destruction of the economy and the implosion of the Tory party. I've got the list here. 45p tax cut, gone. Corporation tax cut, gone. 20p tax cut, gone. 2-year energy freeze, gone. Tax-free shopping, gone. Economic credibility, gone. And her supposed best friend, the former Chancellor, he's gone as well. They're all gone. So why is she still here?
Mr. Speaker, I am a fighter and not a quitter.
Just a day after this bold statement, Truss announced her resignation. She lasted just 45 days in office, making her the shortest serving prime minister in UK history. But I'd love to know which one of these was your favorite moment, so please let me know in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed the video, let your friends and family know. It means the world to us. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.